Half of all men have some degree of erectile dysfunction by the time they're 40, and the numbers get worse with age. I'd like to talk about why that is and what we can do about it. There's 5 things we need to make sure we're paying attention to if we want to be sexually vigorous as we get older. Estrogen, testosterone, scarring, calcification, and nitric oxide. Let's talk about each of these in turn. By the time a man is 35, he can have more estrogen than testosterone in his system. This is because the enzyme aromatase can convert testosterone into estrogen. So the first thing we have to do is make sure we're not turning our testosterone into estrogen. You can notice certain things changing if you end up with too much estrogen. The abdominal area can get a little pudgy. You can lose your drive. You can become a little more effeminate, a little bit more emotional at movies. Those are signs that your estrogen's coming up. If this is something you think you might be dealing with, you might consider something like our endosterol product. The second thing is testosterone, which also decreases just with age. We can raise testosterone with things like cold plunges, weightlifting, but there's also some herbs that will do it. If you are noticing a decrease in muscle tone, weak memory or mental acuity, or a decrease in motivation, that can be a decrease of testosterone. If you think that's applying to you, you might consider our Andropac product. Let's talk about calcification. We tend to turn to stone as we get older, and the penis is no exception. This has to do with blood flow through the arteries. Now, as little as a 5% blockage to the blood flow of the penis can cause erectile dysfunction, so it's very sensitive. Unlike the coronary arteries, they won't give you any warning up until 90–95% blockage, and then you might get some angina, or maybe no warning at all, other than a heart attack. In this way, we can use erectile dysfunction as an early diagnostic window to heart disease. If you have erectile dysfunction, you may also have heart disease. On the other hand, if you don't have erectile dysfunction, there's a pretty good chance your heart's in good shape. So consider your erections your check engine light in your car. That's not the kind of thing to ignore. You want to make sure that that's working properly. If you think calcifications are something you might be experiencing due to age, you might consider our metacardium product. Then we have scarring. Just like the body tends to turn to stone as we get older, it also gets filled with scars, and we discussed this in earlier videos. Serrapeptase, the enzyme that silkworms use to digest their cocoons, is a very powerful protocol for dealing with scar tissue, and we have that in our Notoplex product. Scarring in the penis is actually very common. As much as 23% of men at autopsy have so much scar tissue in their penis that it's visibly twisting and turning. All right, that leaves us with nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a very fragile hormone that is responsible for getting an erection. Now, it can be destroyed by the free radical superoxide. So if you don't have enough superoxide dismutase in your body, that's the antioxidant that breaks down the superoxide radical, then the superoxide radical can break down the nitric oxide, and then it's either difficult to get or maintain a satisfying erection. So, estrogen, testosterone, scarring, calcification, and nitric oxide. If you've got those 5 things handled, you'll probably be satisfied with your sex life. What about women? Women have as much erectile tissue as a man does, except it's all on the inside. When a woman has functioning erectile tissue and she's aroused, she gets physically tighter in her sexual organ. It also sensitizes the pleasure spots for her. So when a man has erectile dysfunction, he can't get an erection. When a woman has erectile dysfunction, and yes, she can get that, she can still have sex, but she won't like it as much. The same protocol that a man can use, endosterol, Andropac, metacardium, Notoplex, and Rejuvelon, can also be used by a woman for the same reasons. If you have any questions about how these might be of benefit to you, give us a call.